This is the first test fit of the new doorpost assembly. It's actually going together really well. I'm slightly off on the old piece. I took a black marker, traced it around the perimeter, going all the way back. So I'm a little bit off here. It looks like a lot, but I still have a lot of room for moving it around where it needs to be. I have the outside rocker just set in place. The same blade that I used to cut it is in there as a spacer, so it's the same distance. And then I got the screw that I drilled in there before I even cut it. So this is where the guide screws come into play. I was able to screw it back together, and now I can fit this in here as one assembly, and it'll be just how it was from the factory. In the other video you could see the marks in there. I didn't talk about them, but I have all my measurements on here, so I have a reference point. On the outside I just used a flat surface, measured out, marked it. The two lines are for where the tape measure goes between the two lines. And then I have a mark of 9 inches. So it's 9 inches from my mark to here. And same thing up. I did it 3 times. And then I also added one for the distance from the pillar to here, which is 7 inches. After I cut all this out, I verified it. It was still at 7 inches. So at least this pillar didn't move. Then on the inside, I have 3 points of reference also. It's 10 inches. I ended up using the flat here and then the flat there, and it's just measured over so I know how far over it needs to be. The center one is this square, the rear of the square, over to there. So I have 3 points of reference on the inside panel and the outside panel. Before I took the old inside panel out, I have marks on the other one, but I have it measured from that hole over to my brace, and then I have another one for another hole going to the where the drain plug grommet would be. So I have points of reference of how far everything should be away. So it's going together pretty well. I got the posts welded in there to support this lower cowl. A lot of measurements in it. For the most part, I think the issue that I'm running across as far as fitment is 2 different assembly plants. So the spot welds are different. And then you can see how wavy it is. So it's kind of making it an issue. So I need to take these out, flatten all the waves, which will help alleviate the issue of how far I can move it up and down, because it's just getting stuck. And then that piece that was there that went up the pillar, I ended up cutting it off. It ended up being too much of a pain to sit there and fish this up inside of the pillar with it. So I ended up just cutting it so it's like the factory hard top one. I don't want to deal with it anymore. But I test fit this piece in there, that one lines up. So like I said, I mean, the guide screws make it a lot easier to just screw this back together. Now you have an assembly that can be finagled to be wherever it needs to be. I mean, I'm off by just slightly. It's almost perfect on the top, but the bottom of it is too far towards the front of the car. And I've kind of pushed it with my hands. I can get it to line up, but it won't stay in place. So it's just a little minor tweaks on it, but I wanted to get it test fitted, and then I can take them back off, clean them up, fix whatever needs to be fixed, and then I can weld both panels in and then keep on moving. And I'll start with the top of it. And these are the two holes that I use for my reference point, 19 1/4 is from this lip to that drain plug grommet, and then the 33 is over to my support bar. So picking any kind of points of reference, they really line up pretty decent. You can go by different areas, but really matter just make sure it goes in there straight. So that's the update I got. At least it's somewhat together. And on the inside of it, instead of sitting there and drilling all the spot welds out, I ended up just cutting this whole section. You can see it's just cut out on the top. I didn't feel like dealing with it. It was rusted, so I had to make all new pieces anyway, so I wasn't worried about whether it was there or not. I already have the old one as my guide to be able to make the new pieces. So, cut it out. I cut this right where it was starting to rust, and then I can pick between the two, the new one and then this one, however I want to cut them and kind of mix them together. But at least it's out. I gotta move that bracket over and just a little bit cleanup. It'll be together, and I think I move along pretty good. That's it for the update.